Welcome back, YouTubers, to a slightly belated Raw review of us, the British Fist.
Go, Jake!
Mr. Parkin here, wearing that same damn shirt I've been wearing for the last, 2 or 3 videos. This guy sitting next to me, shining up his head like a bowling ball. It's none other than NJ, people.
What's up?
Subscribe up above and all that bollocks.
Please, special contact us in the link in the description box below. And also, the reason it's late is because I had work. And all I'm going to say, to keep this nice, short and sweet, and not go into too much detail, is Rachel, get well soon.
Who is also one of our viewers as well. So on this week's Road to WrestleMania edition of Raw, we had none other than 9 matches. The first of which was Dolph Ziggler versus Chris Jericho. Many people probably would have wanted to see that on the WrestleMania card, but plans have changed, so we get to see it on free TV now.
With this match, with a big name like Chris Jericho and Ziggler, yes, you know they put on good performances. It's because of their good performing wrestling. You expect pay-per-view, but that takes nothing away that we got a good Raw match.
And you generally expect good matches from these, even on free TV. You know, it just kind of bugs me a little bit that even with the help of Big E Langston, and with Big E Langston and AJ outside the ring, he still can't beat a non-mid-carder. Yeah, he can beat a Kofi Kingston with help from Big E Langston. He can beat mid-carders sometimes, but he can't beat main eventers, which is one of the issues why we can't really buy Dolph Ziggler as a future World Heavyweight Champion. That's all I'm going to say about that match. Other than the fact that Langston finished Jericho post-match, I guess this is a way of trying to build him up as a powerhouse.
Other than Ziggler's wins over the tag team champions, ex-World Heavyweight Champions, it looks like Langston is really trying to take out as many wrestlers as he can. I'm still, like I said last week, looking forward to who his first feud is against.
Yes, Mark Henry versus the Usos. Heard this news that Mark Henry apparently had a knee injury, so I was quite refreshed to see that he looked okay in that ring. And we were discussing this before we did the video. Mark Henry actually let Usos at least get some stuff in.
And even though Mark Henry's meant to be injured, the fact that he was against good, fast movers in the ring, it really shows that Mark Henry is still tough enough and strong enough to continue a match against good performers. And the other thing is, that the fact they're good performers, I'm thinking it's a bit of a shame that they're not involved, the Usos, in the tag team title run.
Pre-show last year, I guess. I find it funny when Mark Henry said, "You don't splash me." Like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Del Rio versus Cesaro. Cesaro wins via counter. Were you surprised to see that they actually booked this in a kind of decent way and allowing the feud to continue while giving Cesaro a much-needed win over a main event guy, which he hasn't had in what seems like weeks?
Well, this is what I would really hope for in matches like this. If there's a storyline involved with one of the two wrestlers in the ring,
give the other guy a win.
There's involvement, yes. And this match went the right way down. Yes, Cesaro's not really doing much at WrestleMania, if anything.
Pre-show.
So it's a bit of a shame, but at the same time, it was more not for him getting a count-out win. It was more for the Swagger and Del Rio,
which we will talk about in the later section. Team Hell No versus the Primetime Players. After a pretty good showing last week on the mic by Pancake Patterson, or whatever his name was, Primetime Players once again get jobbed out.
No hope there.
No, Barrett versus Miz. Was you surprised that you saw this on free TV, NJ?
I look at this, I'm finding it a real shame. 2 weeks before Mania, we talk about the mid-card each and every week not really being as strong as it should be. But like I said, getting Barrett on TV is something, but not really good enough for WrestleMania.
Miz wins with a figure 4. The crowd didn't really seem to care too much about this one, but we'll move on. The Shield were in action against, get this crack lineup, NJ. Great Khali, Justin Gabriel, and Zack Ryder. And the Shield win. No surprise.
In the past, we talk about past jobber matches, like getting heat or jobbers that are meant to put over someone else. Yes, we do miss that, or some people miss that, but give it to the Shield. There was no surprise what happened.
Brodus Clay and Sweet Tea versus the Rhodes Scholars. Cody Rhodes, thank God, pins Brodus Clay. Thank you for that, WWE. Ryback had a 3-on-1 match against 3MB, which he won. Eventually, it took him a lot longer to win than I thought it would do.
Well, look at this. I'm glad they're doing this. I'll go into more detail later, but with Ryback's performance, yes, it goes back to his old days when he was against jobbers and that, but at least there was a purpose for this.
AJ Lee versus Caitlyn was our final match on the card, on the Raw card last night. AJ wins via count-out. More detail on this as we go into the next section of the video.
And seeing AJ wrestling, at least it's going to give me some hope there's more to come.
So on the road to WrestleMania, we do expect a fair amount of storyline advancement and character enhancement, and we got quite a bit of that tonight. Not necessarily saying that's good, but I'm saying we got a fair amount of it tonight. Rose Scholars and the Bellas versus Funkasaurus, Sweet Tea, and Funkadactyls is being teased again. They had that kind of brawl after the Sweet Tea and Brodus Clay versus Rose Scholars match. You'd imagine this would be a match they'd probably do on the pre-show.
I'm thinking they're going to go that way, but at the same time, the way this goes down, you've got a tag team that I don't really care much about, the dancers. This tag team that are meant to be taken seriously, but they're not.
There may be a Divas title match at the WrestleMania pay-per-view. AJ Lee versus Caitlyn. We had 2 segments with these two. We had that backstage segment where Caitlyn was making fun of AJ Lee and she goes crazy skits on Caitlyn. Then you had a match later on where AJ Lee beats Caitlyn via a count out after she pushes Caitlyn into the guardrail. You think this would lead to some kind of match at WrestleMania, even though it's been really last-minute booked?
I'm about to say, I guess the WWE realised, oh, we've got 2 weeks before WrestleMania, we've got to book a Divas match, or just something for them to do. And I think, yes, they've chose the right Diva, obviously the Diva champion, and AJ, who's been floating around. But at the same time, the Diva division has been teased between many different wrestlers, Tamina, blah, blah, blah. But putting AJ into wrestling-style matches, yes, you didn't get a win, it was a count-out. But it's a start.
Could have had a lot more story to this if they actually planned ahead of it. 2 former best friends and all that kind of stuff. Similar to Terror and Touch My Go, but nowhere near that level, in my opinion. The tag team title feud, Team Hell No versus Ziggler and Langston. It's kind of feeling like the old tag team division to me. I mean, you had Ziggler and Langston appear during the Team Hell No match. Like, that was really... You haven't really had too much build from this for this match yet.
The 2 things I'm going to say about this is you're looking at one storyline, Kane and Daniel Bryan breaking up and sometime feuding. You got the other side where there's the tag champions. They're not going to be switched over, I don't think. And you got Ziggler's push. So there's so much going on in this match. But for this tease, it wasn't really good enough this week.
Maybe they'll do more on Smackdown. Who knows? Miz versus Barrett. Of course, we had Miz beating Barrett and clean in a match. I'm guessing the reason why they've done that is because they had to have Miz job out last week to Barrett. So they felt giving Miz a win here would put him in a stronger position to go after the IC belt at WrestleMania.
In the past, I used to see, like, you try and get level up on each other. You try and get 2-1, 2-all, something like that. It doesn't seem to go in that route with these two. But if they're still going to go on to Mania and still do something, it's good. But Barrett as the IC champion, this is an example why I don't think he's the best IC champion.
Well, I mean, as a performer, he could carry that belt well. But they're just not... It kind of reminds me of other IC title reigns where they just haven't really made him feel relevant when they really could do like a Cody Rhodes did. They haven't really done it with Barrett, unfortunately. Did Triple H really have to kick Barrett in the balls?
I don't know why Barrett came out, though. So I think, again, why the WWE wrote that in didn't make much sense. But I guess Triple H doing that was just saying, hey, this is what I think of you.
You British fuck. Henry and Ryback. They did this...
Pretty good.
They didn't really have any interaction this week. It was more like Henry beat the Usos 2-on-1, and then we had the news that later Ryback wanted to go one better and beat Team 3MB 3-on-1. And we had the announcement that they're going to have a weightlifting competition on Smackdown. That I am freaking looking forward to. That's one of the reasons I'm glad we're reviewing Smackdown again, so I can see stuff like this.
They've leveled this down pretty well. You expect Ryback and Mark Henry to be in handicap matches. And the fact they show off their skills, their wins, their dominance, very nicely set up there on Raw. The weightlifting thing, they're building up SmackDown, which they need to, especially these last 2 weeks.
Just lifting my weight. There we go. Yeah, I'm done for the day. But yeah, that weightlifting competition should be good. And this is a good example of using jobber matches to make Mark Henry look good, Ryback look good, so they both look good going into their segment or match, which is how things should be done. Del Rio and Swagger. This mainly happened during the Del Rio and Cesaro match. Last week, of course, we had the attack on Ricardo's ankle by Swagger. Again, Swagger comes out like a despicable fuck and basically attacks Ricardo's ankle again that was already in the cast. And then Del Rio and Swagger brawl in the crowd, which leads to Del Rio getting counted out. I thought this was a solid build to this feud.
Again, like you said earlier, they're really doing their little bit. Not as much as I was hoping for, but they've not really made me feel that this is an important match, apart from probably these last 2 weeks, which is a shame. But the way they did it this week, they're using Ricardo Rodriguez to give Swagger heat. Del Rio and Swagger for each other. So I think they've done enough this week.
I think Ricardo he really seems like a talented guy. He's really selling that ankle injury really well, kind of getting me more invested into this storyline a little bit. The Shield versus Orton, Sheamus, and Big Show, that was officially announced on Smackdown or this show, whichever one. You had 2 segments with this throughout the night. This is the main angle on Smackdown. The Shield attacked Sheamus and Orton backstage until Big Show saved their asses, showing that he was the equalizer. I can see what they're trying to do here. Then after Shield's match, you have the team Orton, Sheamus, and Big Show coming out to clear the ring after their match. So again, they're making the babyfaces look very strong, but I guess that's to try and really show us that, you know, the Big Show being there does make a big difference.
That's what I was going to say. The whole Big Show thing, they're really trying... Like last week, they made Orton look like a big deal by the voice of thing. Big Show this week, even though they did a bit of Big Show last week, they're really trying to make each individual wrestler have some kind of big role in this. Next week, it could be Sheamus' turn. But I really think that they're trying to level up the faces to be at the same level as the dominant heels.
Fandango versus Chris Jericho was officially announced on this week's show. This is one of my highlights. You know, as you know, I do like the Fandango character. I'm kind of getting into this character a little bit. There was 2 mini segments in one big segment with these two. The first of which, where you had Fandango get on the mic. He got a lot of heat, more than CM Punk, by the way. And he's about to say his name when Chris Jericho comes out. They brawl in the ring. It wasn't a sanctioned match. Fandango flees the ring only after Jericho's match against Ziggler to come back and dance around Jericho and beat on him. And he got a lot of heat once again.
I like how they set this up. Like, Fandango's in the ring first, ready for his opponent to come out. Jericho comes out. The fight beatdown happens. Because anything to make Fandango look like he can wrestle, ready for WrestleMania, is a big thumbs up for me. The mic work and stuff, really overpowering Jericho. It's starting to tease that they're taking him seriously. So for this, I think the way they set this up made this match look like somewhat of a big deal going to Mania.
It's a really good character. He's getting a lot of heat right now as Fandango, and not to mention the fact that this is a good segment. I felt this really accomplished what it needed to do. Triple H and Brock Lesnar. This kind of just had a video package and then a quick promo by Triple H. Kind of just felt like it was there. I think they've already done all they can in terms of segments with this. So it's kind of just going to be like, let's just get to this match now. There wasn't really too much more they could really do here, really, was there?
No, I think next week they should either brawl or something next week, teasing what their match is going to be, or teasing their match at the pay-per-view. This week, it was more on Triple H's behalf, making him look like he's ready, make himself look like the stipulation last week hasn't put him down. So the way they've done it is obviously just made the match look like both men are ready.
CM Punk versus Undertaker. This had one segment. It was the opener. You had CM Punk open the show, as he seems to do quite a lot nowadays. He's open to cheers, even though the fact that the commentators are saying he's one of the most despicable men on the roster. Well, if he's so despicable, then why are the fans cheering him? The promo segment was kind of just meh. I mean, I don't know. I mean, usually I like CM Punk's promo, but the problem is that he's just talking and talking, and he's just not really getting the right reaction from fans, which if you're going to be a top heel, I'm sorry, you just cannot do.
Probably in his last 2 feuds, including this one being one of them, I've really not got behind Punk's promos. Yes, when he speaks, you listen. But at the same time, I'm hearing a lot of repetitivity in most of his past promos. Same thing he said last week, the week before. They all link up. It's probably next week, that could be a good promo. But this week, I've heard this last week.
Yeah.
The best thing that stood out to me, really, was the fact, she knew what was coming when he said, rest in.
Yeah, and the lights go out, as NJ's just said, and Taker's in the ring and he unloads on CM Punk, but CM Punk kind of fumbles the urn and Heyman runs off of it. So I thought even though the promo was a bit like, the fact that the Undertaker's going to come out going after CM Punk, that sparked some much-needed life into a very terrible crowd tonight. So I felt Taker's appearance and what they did there was done typically well, as they generally do with Undertaker's character. There's so much you can do with that character's mysteriosity, if that is a word.
I think it could be, but the way I see it is just like the Fandango Jericho thing. The fact you got Taker to fight or do some maneuvers, because he hasn't actually wrestled on live TV. So the fact you've added this, obviously it increased interest.
I guess very typically, the main talking point is Rock and Cena. We had this Q&A with this Hall of Fame panel, Bret Hart, Booker T, Mick Foley, and Dusty Rhodes. So a great, very, very good Hall of Fame panel there.
It was not as good as our Q&A, but there you go, WWE.
With only 2 people. But yeah, what can I say about this? This hasn't been the main angle on the show for like the last 2 weeks. So going in 2 weeks away from WrestleMania, this needed to be the main event. And this whole Q&A thing, do you think this was the best way to end the show?
In the past, they've done like debates and stuff, like before the Elimination Chamber, they've had them all there. Okay. So I think they were trying to come up with something that's similar but different. And we got this, adding the legends there, okay, because they somehow relate to what's going on here. But I felt, like we're about to get into, when it started going, it picked up.
Yeah, it did take a while to pick up. I just want to quickly mention the crowd. I mean, again, another bad crowd in my opinion. You had The Rock come out for the first time in 3 weeks, and the crowd barely did anything. They barely popped. When Cena come out, he got a typical mixed reaction, as he usually gets. So what the fuck's going on with these crowds? In Philadelphia, I believe it was, which is a massive Smart Mark crowd, or a massive crowd, I believe.
The fact that we're about to go to WrestleMania, I thought the crowds would be getting more interested, seeing the big things happening. But I think it probably could be a reason how people feel about WrestleMania.
Possibly. There are a lot of people that aren't really that excited on the road to WrestleMania. In my opinion, this segment was a little bit so-so until we had Cena started talking about how he had Rock beat after making a stupid decision. Then it started picking up a little bit. That actually kind of made sense. So it started off like really kind of, where's this going? And then the War of Words started, and it got a lot better towards the end, especially when Rock hit Cena with the rock bottom, which I'm guessing Bret Hart was kind of like, 4 out of 10.
Sadly, when it got past the whole, the exact same things Cena's been saying, a bit like a Punk promo in a way, oh, I've got to beat The Rock, I've got to get my redemption, all that rubbish. When they actually got to the battle against the Words and then the attack, the fight when he gave him the rock bottom, that, I think, shot something up. It's always about the brawls tonight on Raw. Do you ever,
This needed it, didn't it?
Yes.
This needed
we had many different people doing brawls with different attacks at the end of each match or promo. It made it feel alive.
This needed something because they've been talking and talking. Like last year, they were talking and talking. They needed to do some kind of brawl, whether they touched each other or did something. A lot of people actually have been saying Cena healed up. And yeah, he healed up a little bit. But people saying he's going to turn heel, I'm thinking, no way is that going to happen. But if it does, which is like a 1% chance, it could be a very well executed move.
Going into this match, you do question who's face, who's the heel, and this whole people saying Cena showed expression or down upsetness or whatever emotion. He always shows semi-emotion, then he goes back to be happy again. So like any teasers we got tonight are going to be gone next week.
No, I feel exactly the same way. People who are saying he's going to turn heel. If it does happen, then obviously you can prove us wrong, but don't believe it for 1 second. Just want to say as well, 20-minute overrun this week. Jesus Christ, Raw is already 3 hours. Nearly said 30 hours. It kind of feels that way sometimes. And they got a 20-minute overrun. I mean, I understand this is going to be the main event of WrestleMania, but 20-minute overrun? It's kind of like, even if the segment's good, it still drags on after 20 freaking minutes.
I like the fact they had to try and cram as much as they could in 2 hours, going to 3.25 hours, plus the 5 minutes we got this week. Yes, it's Rock and Cena, and they needed a finishing week off with these two, but still, I felt that maybe some of the things earlier could have been done differently to make this shorter.
Yeah, two great mic workers in Rock and Cena. Really, really very good on the mic tonight, in my opinion. It's just very hard to care about this match right now because of the way WWE have kind of been building it up lackluster. That's just how I feel. And Raw overall was just, I felt the first hour was all right, and then it kind of just descended. Really, that's just how I felt about Raw this week, and it just doesn't really feel like we're on the... It kind of does feel like we're on the road to WrestleMania, but the excitement just isn't there for me right now.
Well, my opinion on Raw is a little bit different. Yes, it wasn't the greatest Raw, but like I complimented many times early in this video, at the end of every or most segments or matches, there was a brawl, there was an attack, there was a maneuver that actually stood out to make the matches going into WrestleMania had their key points. So for that, I think WWE have done what was needed in parts of this Raw.
So next week is going to be the go-home show. I think WWE really need to deliver on that go-home show personally. But if you have any thoughts on this edition of Raw, please let us know down in the comments section below. Sorry about the lateness of this, but stuff happens, so we can't help that. So NJ, would you like to outro us here?
Thank you very much, people. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give your thoughts on the good, bad, and ugly of this Raw. And please tune in for the rest of this week, which the British Fist will provide you with entertainment and great videos. And until next time, YouTubers, thank you very much for watching, and good.